It was the Jaylen Withers game we all hoped for, his best performance as a Tar Heel, and of course, it was against his former team, the Louisville Cardinals. Paxton Kilby, let's react to this one in real time.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Isaac Shade and Pat Kilby coming at you live post-game. We are getting it after it quick tonight because it's late on the East Coast and we got to get all you fine people to bed. Ordinarily, man, I've prepared a whole big thing. We're ready to go. We're very specific. Tonight, Pack, we are going off the cuff, my man, and I love this kind of energy. Hopefully you all are excited for that as well. If you would, go ahead and start dropping in some questions in the comments because we'll definitely take some questions later on. Man, I see we've got somebody in here from Hawaii, Alex Dukosin. I hope I've said your name right. What's up? Welcome. So glad that you're here. All right, Pack, let's start right there. I mentioned it. Jaylen Withers. We want to talk about our guy as Carolina wins this game 86-70. North Carolina survives a little bit of a second half scare as Louisville gets in down the lead to 5. Carolina pushes it back out. A great performance. But my man, we hoped for a great Jaylen Withers game, and we got it. His first double-double as a Tar Heel, season high in points and rebounds. What did you see from Jaylen Withers against his former team, Pack? Let's talk about that first.
Man, I thought he played with a lot of confidence. You know, you could tell this game had been marked on his calendar for a while. I feel like he was really locked in, confident, ready to go. And you know, we kind of needed him, especially during the second half when Louisville narrowed that lead down. And he just made some really big plays down the stretch. As he did all game tonight. And that was obviously his best performance as a Tar Heel. And I'm super, super happy for him. I feel like it was much deserved, and we've all kind of known it was there, but we hadn't seen it yet until tonight. And he was clicking on all cylinders tonight.
And one of the things that I really, really love that Jaylen's been doing is cutting down on turnovers, Pack. I had talked about this earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday's show. But at the beginning of the year, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, he had 9 turnovers in the first 7 games since then. And he had just one tonight against Louisville. So I'm counting this up in real time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got just 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just 6 turnovers in the 10 games since that. And man, I know it's big what he's doing, scoring and rebounding, but man, it's all the more important to be hanging on the ball like that. What does that, why is that such an important thing for the Tar Heels?
Well, just being able to value possessions. But, you know, when I think about what you're talking about, I'm thinking about why he came to Carolina. And, you know, the big thing was when he came was that he knew he needed to get better in some areas, and he wanted to be coached. And I'll give Coach Davis and the staff the credit because at times they've had to hold him accountable and they've had to sit him on the bench until he could figure it out. And then there are times like tonight where he showed complete growth and he's been coachable and he's worked at correcting the things that he's needed to correct to reach the level of play that he wants to be at consistently. And, you know, I think tonight we just saw a little glimpse of what he can be. Obviously, he's a freak athlete, but when he's doing the things that like taking care of the ball and being efficient in his scoring, he even had a couple nice dimes in the game and a couple hustle plays. Just when he's doing that and we can get it consistently, he takes our team to a whole nother level. And so, you know, I just want to give him credit for, you know, being coachable and coming to Carolina to get better and then doing that. That's not always an easy thing to do.
It's really not. And I mean, there were so many of those acrobatic, athletic plays tonight. That little tightrope action when honestly, I thought he was getting fouled. I don't know why he didn't receive wasn't the beneficiary of a foul there after all the fouls that Cormac Ryan had called on him, but whatever. But then he was able to skip that after that tightrope action over to Harrison Ingram on the wing, who like Coach Davis and the entire bench are pointing at RJ in the corner. And of course he buries it. That was a great sequence. He had that one where he kind of dunked it, but that was weird and like landed in a squatting position. Dude, what he's doing all these intangibles, man. It's so, so great to see. All right, Pack. I know we're talking Jae'lyn. Let's talk a little bit about RJ Davis here, because good grief. The man gets 20 points again, 21 total in this game. It's his 11th game this season with 20 or more points. Here we go. From the field, 6 of 12, 4 of 7 from 3, and another perfect night, 5 of 5 at the free throw line. Oh, and by the way, he chips in 6 rebounds and 6 assists, Pack. My man was in kind of triple-double territory-ish. And for the season, Pack, RJ is up to 41.9% from deep and 95.7% from 3. I mean, if somebody else wins ACC Player of the Year, it will be an absolute travesty.
Yeah, it will. Here's the thing about RJ. 2 things, really. Number one, we all shoot into a basket. That dude is shooting into an ocean. Holy cow, man. He's just unbelievable. And the other thing is, that really goes underrated and underthought about. He is getting everyone's best effort every night. He's the number one guy on the scouting report. It's not, maybe in the years past, it's been Armando. Now it's RJ. So he's taking whoever their best perimeter defender is, whatever their defensive scheme is, it's all being tuned and tweaked to try and slow him down. And he's still doing his thing. So, man, he's just been big time. I've been on the RJ train since the man arrived in Chapel Hill. I believe in his game like maybe more than anybody. I just think he's got a really nice game and an unbelievable stroke. And so now that he's, found his rhythm, it's really, really fun to watch.
Love to hear that. Now, Pack, we've talked about several good things. Let's go ahead and get the negative out of the way. I think a lot of people, and you and me included, expected this to be an exact repeat of what happened Saturday as Carolina hosted Syracuse. It started off, and it felt like it was going to be exactly that. The Tar Heels were on fire, got off to, I think it was 11 of their first 15. But then after that, the Tar Heels cooled off. Went 9 of 30, their next 30 after that. And that was just what I tabulated at one point along the way. I don't know how they finished after that. And Louisville got this lead down to 5. Pack, I started getting texts and DMs and messages from everyone freaking out. Like, are we about to lose to Louisville? Is this going to happen? And I just kept texting back over and over. Calm down. It's going to be fine. We're going to win this game. Just like people were off the rails, man. It was a whole thing. And Carolina does push it back out. But Pat, was this more about Carolina struggling or more about Louisville's been playing a lot better lately and they just kind of settled in and found their stride before Carolina was able to take back over? Which do you think was the bigger factor in that run?
I think it was kind of a combination of a bunch of things. Like, I put in the Discord, before the game, these types of games really scare me.
You said, I remember. Yeah, absolutely. You said that.
Just because the kids, the players, they're not dumb. Louisville's not good. They know that. And I think to an extent, sometimes, you kind of go into it and you're like, let's go through the motions here. Let's get this dub and get out. But they're not totally locked in. And then they got off to a fast start. And then I think they kind of let their guard down a little bit. And we got sloppy. Got a little out of tune sometimes with some turnovers, missed some defensive assignments, some rotations and stuff. And Louisville got back in the game. And then, we got to give them some credit because they hit some tough shots. At one point they were like 5 of 6 from 3 in the second half. So
that was going off. Yeah.
And so, I mean, credit to them for hitting some shots. I think more of it falls on us just being sloppy and getting out of our roles and out of our routine and our rhythm. And, they took advantage of it. And then we kind of woke back up and said, you know what, let's go finish this off. I view this game kind of like a sandwich. The 2 pieces of bread were solid, but what was in between was just, it was a little sloppy. It
was some Thanksgiving turkey that had been in the fridge just a little bit too long, Pack. We need to get that out of here. No, and what I love is that, you know what? Sometimes you need a little bit, like, let's look at the silver lining of it. Sometimes you'll take a little push. It's going to be good teaching moments. It'll definitely have Carolina awake and ready for Boston College on Saturday, because it's like, oh, if we take our foot off the gas at all, things can get going. And I had talked about This needed to be a game where Carolina, I called it a take their will kind of game. And anytime you let a team start to get just a little bit of confidence, things can get off the rails in a hurry. And that's what was happening there in that midpoint of the second half as Louisville was making a run. And so, Pac, like you could look at it and you could be disappointed and frustrated. But how about this? In real time, I'm looking at KenPom. KenPom's already updated since the game's over. Carolina is still 7th at KenPom, still 15th in adjusted offense and 5th in adjusted defense, even after this performance. So all this to say, hey, don't freak out. Everything is okay, right? Pac, if you're Hubert Davis right now, what are you saying in the locker room?
Well, I think everything's totally fine. I'm definitely not hitting the panic button by any means. And here's the thing. I don't know if Hubert's saying this to the team, but I know he's thinking it. I know his staff's thinking it. Sometimes, especially the way we've been playing, games like this are okay because it gives you some things that you can go back and go, we got to get better at this. And if you don't believe me, the eye in the sky don't lie. We can get right here on the camera.
Thanks, Roy Williams. I appreciate that.
And we can say this is not to our standard and get some things corrected. Like I see the Nintendo nerd here, he is commenting about is the slow starts in the second half going to become a trend? Possibly, but that's something that we can work on, and we're not going to peak too early because we have these games like this that we can get things corrected and fixed and give us some things to work on. So I'm definitely not hitting the panic button, and I hope the staff is looking at it like now we've got some things we can really grow from here. So
that's right. All right. Since we just talked about something very sad, let's talk about something very awesome. I want to remember and recall and celebrate and hoop and holler about Elliot Cadeau tipping that inbound pass in the first half, kind of tipping it ahead to the front court and running out for Pac. I thought it was just going to be a nice little layup finger roll off the glass. And my man got up and dunked that thing. And I tweeted immediately, y'all didn't know Elliot Cadeau could get up like that, did you? Pac, what does that athleticism, both the ability to steal that pass and then the ability to go dunk it on dudes' heads? I know Elliot's shot is not there, right? Like that's got to keep growing. But what does that athletic ability do, especially as you think about getting more into ACC play, about playing the Dukes that are going to have high-level athletes, about playing once we get to March Madness where there's going to be these high-level athletic teams?
Yeah, there's no doubt his athleticism is really sneaky, I think is a good word for it. He's just he plays at his own pace. There's times where it looks like he's kind of trotting along out there, and then all of a sudden it's just bam, turns it on, just kind of like the dunk tonight. He sold it like it was going to be a layup, and then he just turned it over on him. And he's just real sneaky with that stuff. And where I think it becomes a really, really big advantage for us is defensively, the way he's able to guard the basketball and keep it in front, with that speed and quickness. And I think that's going to pay dividends. But you're right, the shot does need to come along. And, believe it or not, I don't think necessarily the shot is so much of an issue as it is the confidence level. He looks hesitant and concerned to shoot. And I've watched, trust me, I know we're playing at a different level, but you go back and watch his highlights from high school, and he's shooting that thing confidently. I know he can hit them. It just needs to translate to this level. And we need to see some more confidence and aggressiveness from him as far as hunting his shot.
100%. One thing I want to go back and say about, the second half kind of lull is it to me there. I intended to say, and I forgot to say, I wasn't concerned with Carolina's energy there. That's been the four kind of pillars I've been looking at lately is energy, bench, defense, and rebounding. And we'll talk about those other three here in a second. But Pac, I thought the energy was still there. It just wasn't translating offensively, and Louisville had some offensive confidence. And so, somebody just said, I was just about to say this. Let me pull it up from Josh. Josh says, I really like how Coach Davis let the team figure it out and get back on track on defense and stretch it back out. No panic on anyone's faces, but the fans. Go Heels. Great point here from Josh Pack, in my opinion, because you need to let a team work through things. You need to let what is, again, an veteran, experienced team figure this out. And I thought it was important that Coach Davis do that. I just wanted to make that point. All right, Pac, let's talk about some game, like statistical specific things, because that's another thing we like to get into here on our live post-game reactions. Pac, let's talk about the bench. Carolina's bench in this game. Let me get back to the bench stuff. Carolina's bench had 17 points, as for 28 for Louisville. So the bench was outscored by Louisville. However, the point I want to make is that this is now the 8th straight game that the Carolina bench has had 13 or more points, in the 14th straight game this season with 14 or more points. The reason I bring that up, Pac, is because that ties the number of times Carolina did that in the entirety of last season. 14 times that the bench scored 13 or more last season. They've already done that in the first 17 games this season. What can you say about this Tar Heel bench?
Well, they're starting to really
by the way, as you're talking, I'm going to pull up the stat sheet so everyone can see it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I just think they're starting to really develop some consistency. And it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the year and a lot during the offseason. Can we get guys to develop and buy into their roles and get that consistency? And now we're starting to get that. And it's really, really beautiful to see, because, Withers is coming along. What Seth Trimble has been able to contribute offensively and defensively to this team should definitely not go unnoticed. Zayden High, comes in, and his role is just, can I rebound? Can I get out there and play hard? Can I win 50-50 balls? And he does it. Jay Wash, when his number's been called, he steps up. And so different guys are playing different roles, but they're all buying into them, and they're getting confidence. They're getting comfortable, and that is paying dividends for us. And it's just like tonight, we're not asking them to go outscore Louisville's bench. I mean, it'd be great if they did, but if they're adding 15-ish points per game to what our total is, we're going to be okay. And so we just need to maintain that consistency there.
And you'd like to – here's the one issue I had with the bench tonight. Outside of Jalen's 15, there was only 2 other bench points, and that was 2 Paxton Wojcik free throws. 0 points from Seth Trimble in 16 minutes, 0 points from Jalen Washington, who only got 4 minutes. And so the bench time, I mean, you had 24 minutes from Withers, 16 minutes from Seth Trimble, but outside of that, Zayden High played 2, Paxton Wojcik played 3, and Jalen Washington played 4. And so that side of it is a little concerning. But the flip side of that, Pac, is the next thing that I want to mention. There was great offensive balance. In total, Carolina had 5 players in double figures. We already talked about RJ with 21, Jay Witt with 15, but you also had Mondo with 19 on a very efficient 7 of 11 and 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Cormac Ryan had 14. My man's getting on track from deep, and that's critically important for this team. And then Harrison Ingram got up to 10. Pac, why is that offensive balance so important in your opinion?
Well, it sure makes us tough to guard. I mean, it's kind of one of those things when you look at it and you see that balance across the board.
Yeah.
You want, what do we choose to stop? Do we stop the 3-point line and give up Armando, or do we commit to stopping Armando and making things tough for him and give up the 3-point line? And then there's more than that to get more complex. There's the added post-up game from Harrison Ingram.
Ooh.
There's the way Elliot Cadeau can get to the paint and distribute. There's the sets that Coach Davis dials up that are really, really good.
Let me just quickly say that after timeout where they got that dunk for Bacot, that was a great set.
Excellent set. And, I mean, I'm here to tell you all now, Coach Davis has got an offensive bag that is a mile deep. That guy is really, really good.
Hey, Jay Will wants to play for him, man. Come on. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Talking about it? Yeah.
That is just wild. Let me just say I don't even like that. I mean, I get it, but it's like the rivalry should not ever get to that point. You should not consider Carolina, and we better not be, considering Duke. That's just wild to me. But anyway.
That's why he was in the stands signaling for that timeout in Coach K's last game at home. Anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, actually, I don't even remember what I was saying. Hubert, he's got a great offensive bag and just dialed things up really, really well tonight. And so the offense it's humming along.
It is. And part of the reason it's humming along, Pack, is something else you had mentioned at halftime that you wanted to talk about from the game, and I agree, was the assist numbers. It was even higher at halftime, but Carolina finishes with 19 assists on 29 made baskets. I've got my assist percentage chart up. Let me just look at it really quick. That's 65.5% for the game, which I believe, I'm scanning quickly through my chart, is the second highest of the season, behind only the Tennessee game. So, man, we will absolutely take that. It pushes Carolina back over 50% on the season on assists. And Pack, here's the thing that I love with it. RJ had 6, as we talked about, but Bacot and Ingram each had 5, and then Elliot Cadeau chipped in 3 as well. Man, what is it doing when your power forward and your center are contributing 10 assists in this game?
Well, it kind of goes back to what we just talked about. It makes it that much more difficult to guard Carolina because, it's one of those things where, okay, we decide we're going to try to take away Bacot and we're going to double him. Well, you see he gets 5 assists here. That throws a wrinkle into things because when they're able to pass out of it, there's a clear advantage to the offense. And so, him being able to do that and put that on film is huge. And just, what it does for your team when you have, I really believe this. I think Cadeau has changed the trajectory of our team because everyone else has become better at moving the ball because of him. And, and that's never been more evident than the stats we are talking about right now. Just the way these guys are sharing the basketball and seeing the benefit of it is just, it's changed our offense totally and made us so much better for it.
Wow, I love that. Pack, I mentioned those 4 pillars I've been looking at is energy, bench, defense, and rebounding. And rebounding, let's talk about that next, because Carolina wins the rebounding battle again, 40-28 in this one, plus 12. That means now, since the Oklahoma game, where Carolina was out-rebounded by 7 and then by 10 and 10 in the 2 games before that, UConn and Kentucky. Since then, Carolina has 6 straight games of a rebounding advantage, and all of them have been plus 7 or better. And let's get into the specifics of this. Carolina also had 12 offensive rebounds, Pack, and that is also the 6th straight game, by the way, with 12 or more offensive rebounds. Meanwhile, Louisville had just 6 on the offensive glass, dude. And I know, some people will look at total rebounds and whatever and be like, well, whatever, it's fine. But Carolina continues to dominate that statistic. And with all their switches, Harrison Ingram really helping out. Obviously, Jay Witt was a critical part of that tonight. In fact, Jae'lyn Withers led the way, but you had 7 boards from Armando, 6 from RJ Davis, as we said. 4. Harrison Ingram only had 4 tonight, interestingly, but Carolina didn't really need a ton from him.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll tell you what, I feel like ever since, we've gone on this little streak of rebounding the ball really, really well, I want to give some credit to Coach Davis.
Yes.
Because, Armando was talking about in one of his post-game pressers, they really made it a point of emphasis. And Coach Davis had gone as far as kicking some guys out of practice when they were missing their blockouts. And so, he's really holding them accountable for it, which is coaching. And he's done a great job of that. And the guys have responded. And that is another thing that's played into, played a big part into why Carolina is ascending right now. They're just playing really well in all phases of the game. And rebounding, obviously, is a staple for Carolina basketball. And these guys have responded to that challenge and done a really good job with it. Something we need to continue to do.
I love that. Pack, I want to go start taking some questions from the chat, but first wanted to see if there was anything else you want to hit on. Obviously, folks, Pack and I, after we get off, are going to record tomorrow's full podcast, so we'll have a lot more from this game for you, but I just want to get some good stuff in the post game. So, Pack, anything else that you wanted to hit on statistically before we get to some questions?
No, I'm ready for the questions.
I like this one from our guy Nintendo Nerd, who says, if Jaylen Withers keeps playing like this, how does it affect our ceiling? I have my own thoughts. I'd love to hear that in Discord, Nintendo Nerd. Drop that in. By the way, folks, if you're not in our Discord, man, you need to come be part of it. While Pack is answering, I'll actually put the link to that in our show notes. But Pack, what's your thought about that? How does Withers, I'll call it ascension, how does his ability now to be in his role for this team affect the ceiling?
Oh, it affects it massively. It's just one more body that we can rely on when things aren't going great. Like if Harrison and Cormac are having an off night, then chances are we're going to be able to rely on him. That we're not going to have that many guys having the same off night at once. And so that's where the depth and the consistency really comes in. And the fact that we're getting that from him and his confidence is high is huge. So that changes our ceiling in that way. But just what he brings off the bench is unreal. The athleticism, the speed, our press, the full court press we jump into when he's in it, it's tough because of his length and his speed. He gets tips and deflections. And I just think he does a lot of really good things. And it's cool because when we go to our bench and we bring those guys in, Trimble, and we bring Withers in and we get really athletic defensively and we start pressing you, that's like 10 minutes into the game.
Yep.
And they're gassed.
Yep.
And then we pick up in the press and it just takes it to a whole nother level. And so I really like that he adds those dynamics to our team. And I think it makes us really, really a lot tougher.
Yeah, agreed. Well said. Let's go to Shadow Computing with this one. Shadow Computing says, did we just have a bad night or is this a red flag for the rest of the season? Pac, let me hop in with that first. As we said a little bit earlier, Pac, I think I wouldn't even necessarily call it a bad night. I think this is in a lot of ways about whereas Syracuse, they just rolled over and played dead on Saturday. Louisville did not do that. Say what you will about the season they've had. They've had a better 3-game streak here, winning at Miami, almost beating NC State on Saturday, and coming out of the halftime locker room and showing some more gumption in this one. And so, Pac, I would actually answer neither, I think, to this question. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I don't think it's a red flag. I think more than anything, it's just been kind of coming into it. It's like it's Louisville. They're not great. Kind of a slouch opponent, maybe a little lax at times. But I don't know that. Maybe there were some things that were bad and sloppy. I get that, but I'm kind of with you. I don't think it's really either. I think there's definitely some lessons to be learned, but I have no doubt we'll be ready to go come Saturday.
Here's a little prognostication question from Stephen B. Says, seems like each game we have a breakout performance from our bench. Who will it be for Saturday's game, which, by the way, is at Boston College? And, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, go ahead and try to get this figured out because it's Carolina's lone game that's going to be on the CW. Yuck. Pac, what's your prediction on this one?
Usually when it comes to bench predictions, and especially on the road, I go with guys that I trust defensively. So I'm going with Seth Trimble. And I know he's already had kind of a couple breakout performances, but I think he's going to have another one. I just think defense and rebounding and athleticism, those types of things travel with you when you're playing on the road. And he's been bringing that pretty consistently. So I'll go with Seth.
Yep, I like that. Man, by the way, that possession he had, I think it was on Sky Clark, I can't remember for sure, of just that individual defense was something different. I was actually going to say Seth too, so I'll not add to that. Sam Hickman has a question for you, Pac. Can you please ask Coach Pac about our end-of-game nursing a lead offense? We just seem to dribble the clock down, use a high ball screen around the 8-second mark, then take a contested jumper. We saw that kind of end with there was a shot clock violation down the stretch tonight. I think there was a 3 or 2, like Harrison Ingram made a 3 or 2. But Pac, what are your thoughts on that? Do you like that? Do you wish Carolina wouldn't go kind of shutdown mode like that? You wish they'd keep playing offense, or do you like them doing this?
Well, I certainly want them to maintain their aggressiveness. I think, sometimes when you start slowing down and trying to get time off the clock, you start doing some silly things you wouldn't typically do. But I will say this. I think I've thought about this before, Sam, and I would kind of compare this to football.
Thank you. Yes, come on with that.
That, like, when you're nursing a lead, you're generally just going to throw some generic run plays out there, and you're not going to put any, big time 3rd and 3 plays on film for your opponents to see. And I know basketball is not the same as football, but what I'm getting at is I think there's some things that Hubert has in the bag and that the team has in the bag that they haven't broken out yet because they haven't had to or needed to. But when we're playing Duke and it's a 2-point lead with 2 minutes left, you're liable to see a set play or an action that you haven't seen yet. And they haven't either because they haven't put it on film. And so I think that's probably what we're seeing. And I would think as the season goes on, we get a little deeper, maybe February, we'll start to see some of those things change.
Yeah, I like it. Pack, this is a night of questions coming after you. Ted Aldridge asks, and I had several people reach out to me with this same question tonight. Pack, do you like the way Hubert takes a timeout for the final possession, the use it or lose it timeout of the half, or would you prefer we just play it out?
I like it. I would really like to go and do the stats on it and see what our points per possession were just on those timeouts alone. But I feel like Hubert typically, sometimes we don't always get the best shot. I do get that. But typically I think we get some good shots. And, there's been times where RJ hit the contested 3. That wasn't a great shot, but it still went. But there's been some other times where we've gotten some really, really efficient high-level looks based on the sets and stuff that he's drawn up out of that timeout. And it's like you said, it's use it or lose it. So we might as well use it and let Hubert decide who's going to get that shot and what look we want as we're going into the half.
Yeah, that's very good. Great conversation there, Pack. I love that. All right, folks, Pack and I got to go get things ready for Thursday's actual full podcast. And it's funny, we're actually at 30 minutes right now, so it's going to be the same length. And so that'll be great. Pack, great stuff. Excited to chat a little bit more. Want to say a massive word of thanks to all of you for tuning in with us. I think we got up over 160 people in real time. That's one of the biggest numbers. Love that we're growing these post-game shows. So thanks to all of you for tuning in, and cannot wait to be with you on tomorrow's show as well. Pack, very much looking forward to that. All right, folks, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. But until then, peace.